Okay, I'm going to do home roast by the numbers. Hopefully I'll be able to splice this video together so that it doesn't take too long, because I don't want everybody hanging around for too long here while they watch me do this roast. But starting out here, I want you to see that what I'm doing is, this is what I have, is I have the Behmoor, I think it's a 1500 or 1600, and this is what I am going to use to do my roast. I'm just going to do a ½ pound of organic Kenyan coffee, and I'll try and go through some of the nuances of how different people think differently. But I'm going to right now just put some beans into the basket. The roaster opened, and this is the basket that I will use. It comes with it, of course, and I have 2 different ½ pounds filled of Kenyan coffee. Don't read the label, because that's a different one. But these are organic green coffees that I order from the internet. If you want to know where from, just let me know, and I'll tell you the couple of sites that I use. And then I'm going to put them in the basket, and then I only use a ½ pound at a time, because I like mine a little dark, even though many coffee connoisseurs prefer theirs to be on the light side. But what I do is, even though there's a ½ pound in there, I set it for 1 pound, because it's just the way this machine works. It won't let me do what I would really like to do. And so I'm going to press start, and then I press P5, and that makes it manual, and that makes it, lets me do it. While it's going, you really do have to pay close attention to these. I usually bring a book or something, but I oftentimes will set my phone at 5 minutes, just so I can check at every 5-minute intervals, because it'll go pretty quickly. So I've got a couple of books with me and my iPad. That's where I read my Bible from. But many coffee connoisseurs, as I was saying before, they prefer their coffee a light roast. I'm still a little bit old-fashioned, like the medium dark roast. I don't like it too dark, but what you'll see is the coffee will change color after a while. It'll go from those green beans, which are the raw ones, to a slightly yellowish gold color, and then brown, and then eventually they get darker brown. And the beans will go through changes. What they'll do is they start, as they get brown, the water inside them will vaporize. And once that goes, then we get what we call the first crack, because the beans get a little crack in them, and you can hear that. And then a lot of people will stop right there, because the flavor is a little bit different at the different roast levels, even with the same exact bean. So a lot of guys will stop right after the first crack. Me, I go all the way to the second crack, and the second crack is after the water's out, then some of the other chemicals inside start to vaporize, and that's second crack, and that usually will happen pretty quickly once that gets going. So I'm hoping that I can show you that as I go. Right now I'm going to read a little bit, and I'm just going to let it go, and then I'll come back. Just so you know, when I was looking into this and I wasn't sure I wanted to invest in a roaster, or whether this was going to be something real for me, you can do this. There's plenty of ways on the internet that it'll show you. If you just have a hot plate and a cast iron skillet and a whisk. And so the first couple of pounds that I did, that's how I did them, just to try it out, see if I thought it was going to be something I wanted to do, and I liked it. I kind of had fun. Now, the other thing is this, is if you don't want to have your house smell really bad, this needs to be done outside. They'll say garage, but I say outside is by far better, because you get the best ventilation. And even though we all know that wonderful aroma of fresh coffee, and also of freshly ground coffee, cooking coffee does not have that same wonderful aroma. Cooking coffee has its kind of unique smell, and unless you kind of understand the process and really enjoy it, you probably will not enjoy the aroma. So there is one other thing about this roaster. You see it says smoke suppression technology, and there's pluses and minuses to that, because sometimes it'll stop your roast before you're ready. So what I do is I trick it. First of all, I put a half a pound in, and I say it's a pound. Then what I do is, and I don't know if you can hear this, but listen closely. First crack is starting. And then what I do, in order to fool the smoke suppression, once it starts cracking, I open the door, and that lets the smoke out. So it still stays warm enough to keep cooking, and you could let the carousel go faster like that, but I think it holds in the heat better if you keep it going slowly. So you can hear it first crack. That's the water vapor coming out. And I'm going to let that happen, and then it'll be just a few minutes, and second crack will start. And second crack sounds more like the snap, crackle, pop of Rice Krispies. But this you could hear is a little harsher. It's more of a thumping crack. 8:48 or 8:36, and the first crack is slowing down. And that started at a little more than 20 minutes. So it took about 11 minutes to get into the system. As soon as the second crack starts, I'm going to take the carousel out because I don't want it cooking too much. But once I take it out, I'll start back, and then you can hear that crack and see how good the beans are. Now, remember, this is how they started. Very green. And ready to cook, but you couldn't eat them green. They are like very, very bitter, and they're a little bit softer, so you can't really grind them anyway. I'll get back to you. Just starting, so I want you to hear that, and then I'm going to take the basket out. You hear how it's a little bit more like a snap, crackle, crack. Continue outside of the heater, because otherwise it can happen very quickly. So you can hear them, and I'm actually walking out into the yard because I like to shake all the chaff off and let them cool relatively quickly once the second crack stops. But you can hear they're holding the heat, so it's still going. So there you have it. Now I had to shake it out with the hot gloves because the oil on the outside is really for the darker roasts like the espresso and Vienna, or a very dark roast. These I like, they don't quite have the oil on the outside, but they're still good. The other thing about these freshly roasted is they crunch. They're really good.